social harmony. We welcome you both, and I now invite Mr. Liu to make his presentation, followed by Mr. Bronfman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Three of the core principles of the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights are justice, human rights, and democracy. Today, I will be speaking about how anti-Semitism poses a serious threat to all three. First, anti-Semitism erodes human rights. Often described as the canary in the coal mine for all forms of hatred and intolerance, the spread of anti-Semitism weakens societal guardrails against discrimination and hate. This begins with failures to hold those who engage in anti-Semitism accountable, leading to it becoming socially acceptable and ultimately even commendable. This legitimization process, whereby discrimination and hate become normalized, corrodes our commitment to protecting human rights for all, which is especially dangerous for minority and vulnerable groups. For example, while Jews were the primary targets and victims of the Holocaust, Roma, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, and political dissidents all became victims of the Nazis as well. Second, anti-Semitism undermines the rule of law. The core premise of rule of law is that no one is above the law and all are equal before the law. This is undermined when perpetrators of anti-Semitism are allowed to act with impunity, even when they breach the criminal code, employment law standards, or municipal bylaws. When this happens, those perpetrators are treated as above the law. At the same time, victims of anti-Semitism are denied justice and thereby treated as unequal before the law. Together, this emboldens perpetrators and incentivizes further rule-breaking and illegal conduct, and causes observers to lose trust in law enforcement and the justice system. Third, anti-Semitism is toxic to democracy. Anti-Semitism is a threat to good governance and social cohesion. When Jews become the scapegoat for all of the world's problems, societies are prevented from addressing the true causes of those problems. And because anti-Semitism relies on falsehoods and disinformation, it obscures reality and biases decision makers, negatively impacting policy outcomes. This undermines trust in government and in one another. Honorable senators, this is the reality that we face in Canada today. As you've heard from many other speakers, anti-Semitism in Canada is no longer relegated to the political fringes, but has become mainstream. It has become socially acceptable, even fashionable. To make matters worse, as anti-Semitism becomes more socially acceptable, combating it becomes less politically expedient. That is why I believe that you, as senators, are uniquely placed to help address this crisis. Your report can and should be driven by good policy rather than politics. My 4 brief policy recommendations are as follows. The first step is to define anti-Semitism, and it's crucial that you use the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, the most comprehensive, authoritative, and universal definition that exists today. I encourage you to rely on the Canadian Handbook on the IRA definition, which I had the privilege to lead the drafting of, as your guide to understanding and using the definition. Second, we need the right legislative tools to address anti-Semitism, and they need to be consistently enforced. Bill C-9 is an important step in the right direction, and so are municipal bubble laws. Third, to reverse the growing normalization of anti-Semitism, Canadian leadership must demonstrate a multi-partisan, consistent, and unequivocal no-tolerance approach to anti-Semitic rhetoric and actions across the political spectrum. Fourth, and finally, your report will need to address the two-way relationship between anti-Semitism and Israel. First, that what happens in Israel impacts anti-Semitism here in Canada, and second, that global institutionalized anti-Semitism shapes the world's perception of Israel. I look forward to elaborating on all of the above in response to your questions.